hope Blaze makes it. But otherwise,
so I thought I'd try and make the time to come this week, since I was a couple of questions were asked of me last week that I wasn't available.
Well, thanks for coming. I didn't actually ask the question because I don't normally watch the text. But what questions were those? I think there's a pull request up. Pull request, right? This one. And of course I didn't look at any replies since last week. So is there anything you'd like to chat about here?
I also need to open the thread.
Right.
Let me get that open. 127.835.
All right. Let me open the branch in the meantime.
I suppose the conceptual question I had whilst reviewing is it worth changing? Effectively, you've changed all the current production list directives to the new one.
Yes.
And is it worth doing that now? Or do we sort of keep them? I guess it's the... we will have two styles if we just do the new grammar snippet directive.
Right.
But...
So the point is the two styles are intended to be similar, right? So the point of doing this as the first step is to enable well, first of all, to use colons instead of the colon equal equal or colon equal or whatever Sphinx uses, which is kind of out of place with the grammar itself. Let's see. So we have the full grammar specification, which just uses colons, and then we have well, this is then we have these operators in the rest, which I guess it doesn't matter that much, but it is a bit inconsistent. And then of course the Sphinx style doesn't allow this syntax where the rules are indented but not indented all the way in a separate column, but are kind of tucked below. And we tried formatting some of these actual productions, which, I mean, it would be great to put the actual grammar in the docs instead of handwritten approximations that get out of date. That's the main idea behind this effort. And some of these are quite complicated and paired with rather long names. So if you have this and then you have a separate column for the rule, it doesn't really give much space to format things. I don't know if there's a better example for that. But I mean, even something like this, like keeping this on one line, makes it more understandable than if we had to wrap it. But if it was in in its own column, we probably wouldn't get enough space to put this on a line. So that's like the main advantage of the style that I'm trying to add as a possibility to the docs with this pull request. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, yeah, and I suppose it's, if you take, I actually don't know what abstract grammar production list is based on, but I suppose it's very clearly not PEG or whatever. Not actually sure if PEG is standardized or if it's just something, if there's like various dialects of it and we just use one of them.
Yeah,
but no, I think that's fair enough.
I mean, it's a mathematical notation, so whatever you define it as, it is. Apparently the textbooks use this symbol because it's not like assignment nor is it mathematical equality, so there's a special symbol for you know, grammar rules. But I mean, the Sphinx directive itself is pretty lenient. I think it only parses backticks to make the token links like this, and that's it. But it does require, or it does output this symbol, and it's not easy to change that. It's in Sphinx itself, and it does require the two-column layout.
Yeah, I mean, one option is obviously slightly longer time horizon, but we put some hook into Sphinx to make changing the : equals easier. The other question I had, I haven't actually looked at this. Currently, the productions are linkable via InterSphinx. So each try one statement in that is linkable from external documentation via InterSphinx.
Right.
Via the I think standard term role. So term : I haven't yet checked. I meant to do this earlier, but I haven't. Whether the new bits of the grammar snippet directive support that. I think you basically copied and pasted the interior of the production list directive. Yeah, that make link to token bit.
Yeah.
I think you copied and pasted that from Sphinx. But I don't know whether. Yeah, I just don't know if the grammar snippet directive implements that bit correctly. I haven't looked at that yet.
Right.
But I think it is something that would be useful to retain, is the ability to link to bits of the Python grammar via InterSphinx.
Yeah, so for the earlier question, this operator is actually added in the writer, like in the HTML writer and then the LaTeX writer and then the man page writer and so on. So it's not that easy to change. I think it would be better for Sphinx to just grow a new directive instead of adding a hook to this.
If you see the link I've just pasted, so I think I've answered my own question. So this is the format specification mini language. A contributor a while ago submitted a PR to link digit to the Python grammar. So that's that, and width and precision. Those two entries are meant to cross-reference to the actual Python grammar, and if you go to the actual documentation, they do. Whereas this pull request, they don't. Now, interestingly, something should have failed. It's not fantastic that nothing failed here, because I've just thought of that as the first example I can think of where the grammar is cross-referenced from within our own documentation.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
but that will be.
I mean, it would probably
sorry, please
be
go ahead.
cleaner to put this directive in Sphinx itself. That would probably be a better home for it. But I do think it would be better to have a new kind of directive, rather than try to change the old one.
I mean, that's very possible. The benefit we have now is that we do not constrain ourselves to Sphinx versions nearly as much as we used to.
Right.
So if this does go into Sphinx, it can be adopted by Python much more easily. To be honest, though, even if we do end up putting this in Sphinx, and I would accept that, I think it's a useful feature, probably still best to put it in Python first.
Yeah, that was my thinking. I mean, I don't. Yes, that. Yeah, I guess I went at it from a different point of view, but yeah, if this does make it to Sphinx, it's probably best to prototype it here. Which does mean we have things like this, and we'll probably have another ugly part like this for the problem you just mentioned. This one. So I guess the solution to this is to constrain what the tokens can be to just alphabetic characters and dashes, and I think that's Sphinx disallows dashes in group names.
that was we've you're behind. You haven't merged the latest head yet. I removed that patch.
Oh, nice.
Like yesterday, 2 days ago.
Great.
We don't need it anymore.
Perfect. Right, so I guess we also need to constrain what can be in tokens so that we can make this into an error, and after that make this grammar work. So I assume this is from my pull request, right? So library string HTML. Let's see if my local version shows the issue. Oh no. Wait, what is this rendered from?
Should be your pull request.
That's my pull request. I guess I haven't rebuilt it. Well, let me merge the main branch. And there's a conflict, of course. Okay. So first let me pull my own branch to get any changes from GitHub. That's up to date. And now let me merge the main branch. There'll be a conflict in PySpecific. That's doc tools PySpecific. And the monkey patch is gone. And this...
We now require...
Option spec no index. I guess that's also gone?
Yeah, so we now require Sphinx 8.1. and all of these were effectively backports of newer Sphinx versions to older ones, because for reasons. So we've just removed them.
All right. So I'll make this, and hopefully I'll get the same thing as was there.
For what it's worth, I'm back now with my Mac. The microphone on my Linux machine wasn't, well, actually, Discord wasn't recognizing my microphones on Fedora.
Oh dear. All right. Okay, this looks like what we saw in the render documentation. So I guess what we need to do now is go in the grammar snippet here and constrain what can be this identifier, right? And I guess that will be alphanumeric characters, underscores, and dashes. So how do you handle errors from Sphinx directives? Since I have you here, do you just raise a value error?
Oh yeah, sorry, what was that?
Raise an extension error from sphinx.errors import extension error.
Extension error?
But sure, a value error will work, yeah.
So is there an example?
I don't think our internal directives are that complicated.
Okay, so value
which is a
error
good thing.
will work?
Yeah, value error should work. Yeah.
Here, but okay. So I make that again, and hopefully, no, I need to clear the cache somehow. So since you're here, how do you clear whatever cache we have?
With the make file, if you're using that, you should just be able to do just do clean space HTML instead of just HTML.
Ah, okay.
It might be clean space VM/HTML because I think clean also removes the VM.
Ah. Okay, clean venv HTML. Oh, and I can't run that in parallel, right?
You should be able to.
Clean venv and HTML? I mean,
Oh, fine. Clearly you can't run it in parallel.
Started creating the venv at the same time as deleting it, and that didn't work.
it runs the commands in parallel. I do not use make at all, so
yeah, that's actually
I always have to look up the.
That's actually my personal alias. When I type make, it runs make-j something. Okay.
Well, surely that's bad because it succeeded. We don't want it to succeed.
Yeah. What's oh.
Does
because
your...
they didn't find it as a name at all. Right.
Oh, actually, surely the fix is just to put a hyphen in that group, because hyphens are allowed in identifiers.
No. We want this regular expression to match invalid syntax, so we can reject that invalid syntax.
But in this scenario, that's not invalid syntax, because that is for cross-linking, cross-referencing.
Right.
The tilde Python -grammar colon is to indicate a cross-reference to the production list Python grammar.
Yeah, I want to allow that.
So, so is grammar-y to reject rather than to allow? Because there's no hyphen in that group. It's just an underscore.
So how do you say not a space in regex?
Yeah, capital S is correct.
Yeah, not white space. So I think it would be better to do this. Capital space plus. Actually, capital space star. And then we can catch the invalid name. Yep. Ooh. Yeah, so that should be space except for this.
So in that case, you want caret backtick lowercase s because you're doing an exclusion pattern.
Yep. Where is the backtick on my keyboard? All right, that's the error we want. Nice.
Wonderful.
And okay, so
I'm also good.
Is there something in Sphinx to parse this?
That's what I'm trying to remember. So you want to look. Do you have the Sphinx? I can point you to it for benefit of the others. Oh no, you'll need the source rather than the documentation. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Feel free to drop the link in the comment stream, and I'll put it into the notes. Thank you.
Let me pull the latest Sphinx and.
I don't know if you heard any of that.
Which link?
Yes,
to
I'm
Sphinx?
just trying to find that.
Okay. Thanks. Cheers.
I can definitely look at Sphinx source code.
So you want domains standard, and then init, and then you want to find the token xrefs function.
Once again.
So domains folder
Domains.
package, and then standard domain the package again.
std init. Okay, nice.
And then the token xrefs function, which is, I guess, about halfway down. Line 556.
Token xrefs.
So yeah.
Oh.
So that is used in the current production list directive to split tokens, and then it uses the so for m for match in tokenre.findItter. That tokenre is the one that is used to find cross-references, and then it creates reference nodes pending cross-reference nodes from that, which are then later resolved. So does your grammar snippet call token cross-references?
No.
Because it's called currently in Sphinx, it's called by production list at the very end.
Oh, nice. That might be a new improvement. So this returns a list of nodes, and those nodes are text and literal. So
if you go to line 632, so a little bit down.
632.
So you have the node, so the production node on that that line in the production list is extended with the result. So each node from that token xrefs list is added to the production, the node for that production.
Okay, so I guess I need to...
the list returned by token xrefs contains both cross-references, pending cross-reference nodes, and also text.
Okay, so what I copied ends with node object, and I'm just missing this line. And the subnode, what is subnode here? Oh, that's just the production. So here I return a name node. So I guess this should be like that. Oh no, not name node is here. That's apparently what subnode is. So I'll name it the same way. And I hope it's subnode extend. Yep.
I assume the reason you're using literal strong instead of production is that production is special cased in some way by Sphinx.
Yeah, I think it is.
Okay.
Right, let's see if that works. Oh no, of course, token xrefs, I need to import that from
sphinx.domains.standard std.
Okay, Sphinx std, import that. Thank you. And I need to take the value error out. This one. And now, of course, tokens is not defined. Need to copy a bit more. Tokens as a rule split. So tokens for me would be oh wait, token xrefs gives you the whole line.
So I think tokens here is the name is the name and tokens is the grammar.
No, tokens is the whole line, which is parsed.
So sorry, in your case, tokens will be the... Yes.
So this also handles
because you don't have
backtick. So I need to include backticks in what I capture here. And pass that whole thing to wait. Yeah. Wait, no. No, this is all wrong.
Not so.
This was make link to token. Yeah, that's not really link to token. That should be a link target. Now let me stash this and do that again. So this should return a literal node with a link, which is a link target. So this is called for the rule name, so the identifier at the start of the line. And then for the rest of the line, there's identifiers in back quotes. Get some syntax highlighting here. So those are the references.
Oh, of
so
course,
I
yes.
need to replace this thing.
And it's here. Yes.
By the function token xrefs.
Whereas Sphinx takes advantage of the fact that it's one production per line,
right.
But in the new grammar, we no longer have that parallel.
So literal extend token xrefs, and this token will be the rule ref. Production group will be the group name. So that's the default production group, I assume. Right. Yeah, if there's a colon, it parses out the production group, otherwise it uses this one.
Yep, yeah.
And I guess it should
So the equivalent in the grammar snippet is your group argument.
Yeah, the group name. And so I don't need this anymore. Let's see.
If so, that's a lovely simplification.
And I need that import that I stashed away. token xrefs. Got an unexpected keyword argument production group.
Oh, yeah, no, that is my fault.
Well, this is the disadvantage of making the code nicer. Now I'm relying on private API, right? So I'll just pass it in. No, I can't pass it in positionally.
So you can pass it in positionally. In December, I changed it to be snake case and also be keyword only, but I will revert it being keyword only in later today, so you can just do it positionally. I didn't. There was no public use of token xrefs, so I just did it. But now there is a public use of token xrefs, so I will be slightly more. I will apply a deprecation period.
Wow.
But in Sphinx 8.1, for some reason, it was production group capital G. It was very odd naming.
Well, I guess if you put in a deprecation, the thing that I'm trying to get into CPython will run into that deprecation.
Oh, and sorry, a deprecation period for making it keyword only. Or I might just not make it keyword only.
Yeah.
Token xrefs, the function remains. It's just the argument handling.
Right. So if you don't make it, yeah, if you just revert the change, that would be helpful. At least until this gets into Sphinx.
Yep.
And we lost everything.
Oh, in a way that's interesting, because previously some of the... I didn't realise that other ones were cross-references.
I know, I didn't put in the backticks in there. And now this should be like that.
Okay, well I've made that change to Sphinx.
Thank you. And thank you for coming. I must say it's a very different experience having you on the stream.
My God, yes.
Making changes on the other side in real time. Alright. And there we go. Nice. Okay, so digit is
Wonderful.
Now linked properly. Field name is as well. And I guess I should look at the InterSphinx inventory. Do you remember?
Your best bet will be Python -m sphinx.x.InterSphinx. There is actually documentation for this. If you'd like to, I'll paste it in. But there's a quick command line tool for inspecting this InterSphinx inventory. It is, however, almost unreadable.
Must specify a path. Okay, so I hope it'll be in doc build
/HTML/objects.inv inv.
Nice. Python.
And then you probably want Oh, it is at the end. Oh, that's helpful.
Yeah, Python grammar, std token,
And a token.
Python grammar. And did it say I can put in a URL as well? So let's do that.
I suppose the thing to check would be the test directive that you've changed to grammar snippet. Does that remain the same with, does that retain the same cross-reference?
So, wait, if I put in objects.env here, it'll do that. And I can just div these two, right?
You're missing a V on the first one.
They're the same.
Wonderful.
And it's always suspicious when diff gives you no answer, but yeah, they're the same. Perfect. No change.
And what was the test directive that you changed to grammar snippet? I remember there was one.
Oh.
And we can just check that one. We can just check that one specifically.
Right.
And make sure that.
I think those are the most simple ones in top-level components. These, if I remember correctly.
So if we check file input, I suppose, in the output of.
Yeah, so these are grammar snippet. So if we check file input. Grammar file input. Reference top level components, grammar token, Python, grammar file input, and it's listed as std token. And if I do that for this one, looks nice, std token. Yep, it's the same thing. So that's nice.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much. Let's get that in Git. And let's look at what else he pointed out in this pull request. Yeah, type checking. I mean, if you want to push type checking into this repository, I don't mind, but I don't think I can write it correctly.
But it's normally reasonably straightforward. You just annotate the output of each directive with list of nodes. I mean, for this one it should be, but we don't have type checking in CI yet. I want to get it in there because there's no point having type annotations if they're not checked. But we still have quite a lot of legacy stuff that hasn't been touched for 15 years. In PySpecific, the general extension, and it's sort of either I have to add a lot of ignores or it's just not particularly easy. So I'm just working through updating all of those extensions before I add mypy in GitHub Actions or something similar.
Right.
Do you want help doing that? Because there are a number of people, I know a number of people who want to help Sphinx development.
Specifically with the PySpecific stuff, we've sort of done all the easy stuff at the moment, unfortunately, and so, I mean,
I see.
Sorry?
No type annotation,
No,
or anything that might be busy work, but if you've done that already, then that's...
I mean, in terms of if you'd like to help with Sphinx itself, there's still lots of type annotations to go. If you look in Pyproject.toml, there's a list of several hundred ignored files for type annotations. But I mean, that's not. It's not particularly fun work. It's just sort of. So yeah, if you scroll to the end of that, there's just hundreds and hundreds of lines of mypy overrides with individual files that need type checking. But I think
tests.
last time I checked, we had.
Oh no, it's tests.
Yeah, so it's checking all the tests is the stuff that's left, but I am reliably informed that type checking tests is helpful, and so we shall do it.
Oh, there are the actual modules.
Oh, and also
domains.
Yeah, and there's C and C++ domains, but the C and C++ domains, and we have a custom C and C++ parser written in about 10,000 lines of Python each. And I think it's also half pre-processed. It's very, I try to leave that alone. There's another maintainer of Sphinx who wrote it and is far, far better at this than I.
Okay.
Wow. What is it with writing C parsers around Python development? It looks like a lot of contributors wrote their own. Anyway, so there was another comment which is about this directive argument. Perhaps we could use that argument now, so we can't do that. So the thing I want to do eventually here is that you would write file input here, and then you run a separate tool which would add something like generated by tools blah blah blah, and generate this part. Does that make sense?
No.
Okay, yeah,
Like,
don't ask me.
auto-generate this from the actual graph.
Well, as in, so the tools that would be tools / generate grammar snippets.py.
Yes.
But I suppose why would you then write the output? Yeah, why would you check in the output into the RST source instead of just generating it at build time? Because that's how the doc works.
That is a very good question, and the answer is, first of all, you wanted it to show up in diffs for review, so that this goes in the documentation. Humans are supposed to read it, so it has to make sense. If there's any bug in the tool, you basically want to check it out. Check its output, because it's a bespoke tool. It doesn't really get tested elsewhere than on the grammar. And also, a lot of times the prose around this references the grammar. So if it would be in a separate file, you wouldn't get those connections when the pull request is reviewed. Right, so I want to actually I wanted to actually be here, so that when you make a change to the grammar, you can see the effect on the documentation in context. Because the people who change the grammar file don't really look at documentation. Right? You change something here.
No.
And you want the diff to show the RST file and how that is changed.
And so what would that file argument, so that file input argument,
so that
what would
file
that
input,
then reference? Would that...
That's input for the tool to generate the rest of this.
So that is the token.
Yeah, that's the rule. And that would go into python.gram, and it would find, I I mean, it's has a different name, so it's named file here. So it would basically put this line, strip the weird stuff from it, and put it here, formatted.
And so we could only have, or rather to phrase it in a different way, how would you document multiple tokens per directive, or would you split them?
You would put more of them here.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah. Yeah, I suppose we could use those arguments now and just ignore them. And I suppose that's what my suggestion was getting at, of just putting something in the argument space so that it is clear that it will be used, and that it looks more visually different when reviewing these changes. But in reality, it's fairly minor, and we're going to be changing this anyway when you add the generated by and the auto-checking tool.
Yeah, so I don't want to put them in here because it's duplicating information. If this is handwritten, this is just duplicating information. And also,
yeah,
I don't want to enable the auto generation for everything at once. Right, so if there's nothing here, the tool would just ignore it. If there's something here, the tool would write this.
Okay.
Hey guys.
Yeah, I can.
I mean, this conversation makes much more sense if you want to adopt this for Sphinx. So
yeah, I suppose that.
So the tool I wrote just parses textually because there's no like RST parser that can change the files, right? So I just looked at the line and had all the input on one line, and then everything that's indented after that was auto-generated. So in that context, it makes sense to put the input on this line. If you prefer, it could be another named option. Like if that would make it easier to get into Sphinx. I mean, I'm open to that.
Hey, guess what is happening today? Sorry for interrupting. Like, I have to tell you guys. Today is a meetup with Łukasz Langa in Łódź, in Poland. So yeah, I'm going.
All right, have fun.
Thanks.
Right, so
yeah, that's another Wednesday where I'm busy. Yeah. All right. Have fun. Yes, yeah.
Oh well, have fun. Anyway,
yeah, I suppose my thoughts were effectively it's the delineation of what in. So assuming that the generic bits of this with just the parsing and the different, I suppose, metagrammar go into Sphinx, it's what is then CPython specific, is what I'm trying to think about. And my initial sort of negative reaction to checking in the output is that at the moment, parsing and writing, there is no format preserving parser for restructured text.
yes, of course.
And so, you can do it by a simple line-by-line parser and assume that nothing else on the line. But it's just, it gets very complicated, and then people shout at you on the internet, and it's not particularly fun.
I mean, yes, that parser would definitely be Python specific, and we would need to use a subset of the grammar that's parsable by the parser, but that's fine for CPython.
Yeah, I think I think it being an argument versus it being a group, an option, is not particularly. It's not a massive yeah, it doesn't particularly matter. I suppose the question I would have in terms of generated by, do you envisage there being different generators? Because what we could instead do is have a colon automatically dash generate or what have you, then put the rules in that argument, and then have the parser, have the auto generator output a comment that says this was auto generated by ... on whatever date, like a 2 dot comment, and then that gives you the so a 2 dot comment that says this was automatically generated by, and then the path to the script, and that gets you the quick thing for reviewers to say this is auto generated, and it also means that the move from handwritten to auto generated is, I guess, slightly it's semantics, but I suppose that would be my idea of a design, but I'm just not.
So like this.
No, I would still keep the group argument, group option. I think having the I'm not. Once you get to more than 2 groups, I think having more than 2 options, I think having options works better than arguments.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see too much difference from this form and that form, except this one is much easier to parse textually line by line, right? So here you basically have the tag that you're looking for and the input all on one line. Here you basically have to parse options, and I don't really know the syntax for options, so I mean I would prefer keeping like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm just trying to think about how we would. So, assuming that this directive is implemented in a project that Python does not control,
right?
What is the interface we would use to sort of say, like override the auto generate this? Because we would either need to. I mean, to be honest, actually, if it is auto generated, then as long as the argument is ignored, then at Sphinx build time, the file input argument is just completely unused. Yes.
Yes. And I think if this gets into Sphinx, we could just subclass the snippet directive from Sphinx and throw away the arguments.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that could work. Yeah. Okay, I'm convinced.
Okay, thanks.
But I think I also probably would. I would go with the comment approach rather than the new argument approach, because that sort of doesn't affect the runtime. But we would. I would need to check if comments are allowed within a grammar snippet or production list directive. I imagine currently they aren't, because it passes it as effectively a DSL.
So
instead of restricted text.
I am completely in control of this, right? you need to study here, and yes, this does get parsed as text, so I can even use a different comment syntax. So the reason I went for the options is that it takes less space visually.
True. Okay. Yeah.
Right. So you don't need a blank line in front. You do need a blank line after it, just to separate it from the output, just to make it human readable. So this just takes one extra line. this would be a bit more intrusive visually, but I mean.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Let's stick with the original design then.
We can. I mean, this is a detail we can change at any time. Actually, I mean, it's auto-generated, so even if we decide in a few months when it's implemented that we need to change it, we just can do it.
Indeed.
So you said final argument white space. And oh right, this was merging of the directive arguments and content. No, not content.
With the additional context of the fact that you intend to do the arguments by space separated instead of comma separated, then you do need final argument white space. I originally thought that you were doing either comma separated or one argument per directive, so you can just resolve that comment. That's now obsolete.
Right, thanks.
I suppose it's the benefit and the curse of proposing half of the feature.
Yeah, I mean, we spent several months designing this before picking up this part that can go in a pull request right now. Okay, so any more unresolved conversations? Pycharm. Okay, I'll leave that to you then, because I don't really have Pycharm here. So this is outdated, so let's just check here, since
you used a common base class. That's
so there's a common base class
perfectly fine design, yeah.
So that the argument parsing is separated. Small CSS file and doc tool static. Yeah, I guess this is the way to go. Just so we can check the effect of the actual CSS. We currently don't use add CSS file in CPython. So how do we do this? So
if you go to your...
To where? Doc static.
So your directives your extension setup function.
So this would be grab underscore snippet highlight CSS. So what do I want to put in there? So I want to match this element, so it's pre-span.
It will already be in a pre, because you're using the literal block node as a container. So you just want to replicate highlight.highlight.mb, which is color. It's quite low resolution on my screen, but 008000, I think. I think that's the only relevant CSS rule.
Yeah. And there's also dark theme, right?
Oh, so actually, if you click into Pigments Dark, I wonder if it's using CSS variables, because that might be Firefox.
Nope.
Oh no, it's not. That's unhelpful.
But I guess
so in that case, you just color.
We can use CSS variables. But there's common colors for good, and middle, and bad.
I think those are used in the left bar highlighting for the version added, version changed directives, if I recall.
Admonitions. Yeah, version added, version changed, deprecated. So that's Pydox themes, the Pydox theme dark. Sphinx classic. Does this use variables at all?
The NB is, if it's a Pigments class, it will just be in Pigments and Pigments Dark.
Right. Oh, here's Pydox theme, CSS. So how do I figure out if I'm in dark mode or not?
Isn't it at media prefers color scheme dark?
No. No. Prefers color scheme is what auto does. But this, I think, includes pygments.css. I mean, how is this handled?
Local storage, maybe? But that would be JavaScript, which I don't think we can use from...
Right, so there's pygments.css, and if I go to light scheme, it switches the media here to not all, or prefers color scheme dark. So this is handled by including a different CSS, which means I can't put it in a separate CSS file. Or I would need to put the CSS file in the JavaScript somewhere. And that's... Where's DD switcher? No, and the switcher would be in the docs theme. Right. Okay, so I guess to make this possible in the future, we should change the Python docs theme to add a class to body or something, depending on whether we're depending on theme. But right now I can't do it.
Do you recall where NB came from to start with? Because I'm trying to... That will be added either by pigmentize, by calling pigments' parser function, or by a Sphinx class. So it might be that if we use a specific Sphinx class, we can actually just avoid having to hard code a class there. But I'm looking perhaps in the wrong place to try and find the NB class.
So the nice thing about the NB class is that it's basically part of the API. I mean, this can't change because Sphinx separates its CSS files from its output and tells you to generate the CSS and like put it on your web server. So Pygments updating its CSS files is basically a backwards incompatible change for at least some websites. So I'm pretty sure that the highlight and the NB classes will stay stable for quite a long time. Certainly enough for us to get proper support in Python docs theme. So I mean, it's a hack,
right?
But it's not a dangerous hack.
But as in, sorry, I was by where did you get it from in the first place? I meant where did you find? Because on the website on docs.python.org, there's no highlighting currently, at least on my computer.
Oh.
So where did the NB class originally come from, rather?
Oh, where did I find it? I found it in
yes,
in Python highlighting. And so whenever there's a piece of Python code, I picked one that looked nice. So NB is built-in type or something like that. Yeah, built-in. Just because it looks nice.
Pygments.css.
I suppose. I think leave it as is probably now for simplicity, but there's part of me that would like to have a slightly nicer solution. So in the extensions tools / extensions subfolder, we have 2 custom lexers, Pygments lexers for ASDL and PEG grammars. And I'm not suggesting that in this PR if you go into that folder and then I can't see it in your folder tree for some reason.
Yeah, this is just my
subfolder that's
yeah, so the problem here is that Pygments assume you give it the entire source code and it applies HTML to it, which means you can't add links to that.
Right.
And because I want links, I can't really use Pygments. Unless I use
that Sphinx gets around this
for like parts.
So yeah, the way that Sphinx gets around this is that it defines in I think AddNodes all of the relevant Pygments classes there, and so I had thought that there was some. Sphinx.addnodes. I had thought that there was a node class that used NB already. It transpires that there is not. So if you scroll down to what the actual nodes are. There you are. So it defines a node, and those are the Pygments classes. And so I thought we could just reuse. I thought we could just reuse one of those, but unfortunately we can't because none of them have NB for name built in.
Oh, that's fine. NB just
but that
something that looked green.
But that is how that's how
literal.
Sphinx does it.
Okay, so we can do desc literal string from AddNodes. And what is...
Ignore that's a internal registry thing that we have.
Oh. Oh, so it just basically does the same thing I do. Reuse.
But in a slightly more, I suppose, supported and tested way. But yes, in essence, it does exactly the same as you're doing, but it's a more discoverable name, because instead of just being NB, it uses the class, which you can then work out what that does. So you would replace nodes.inline with addnodes.desc something or other.
I mean, so I guess the proper one for this for Sphinx is to make it a string, which means make it red. I don't think it looks as nice, but we can definitely do that. So the way to do this would be to subclass nodes.inline and add a class to it like this, right?
Right. So you just do class snippet string or whatever, and then classes equals MB. Snippet literal or whatever.
And I guess it should be a lowercase. What's the naming convention for these classes?
Lowercase, yes.
Snippet literal. Snippet literal string.
You could also include a link to Pygments' documentation, which I've pasted.
Node for string literal in a grammar snippet. There we go. Okay. So we probably want a string.
Well, this is the trade-off between, do you want a pretty colour or do you want a semantically correct class identifier?
And I guess I want to go for semantically correct, especially if I want to extend the syntax highlighting in the future. So yeah, if I want to put this in Sphinx itself, it's probably better to go for semantically correct. And Python uses red for strings, which is weird, but
we can always change to a different Pygments theme. There is always the option.
I'm not starting that conversation. So which one is this?
Literal, maybe? Slightly above.
No, it's string. So I guess that's just the S.
Oh, string literal. Yeah.
I'm a bit lost in my items. here again. So that's s literal string. Yeah. And you also need the highlight class on the literal block. And I guess if we do this, then we don't need to change Python docs theme at all. We just make this highlight. Inline from Sphinx.
Oh, you want to do docutils.nodes instead of sphinx.util.nodes. You've imported from the wrong location.
Right. No. Yeah. Nodes is docutils nodes. Okay.
I would, in terms of a general style.
Oh, I already have those.
We tend to do nodes dot just because it introduces a lot of unqualified names.
Yeah, I guess make ID.
So I think
good because it's a function, right?
It's also overridden in Sphinx, unhelpfully.
Okay. Oops. What did I do wrong?
Is the class in the HTML?
No, it's just a span.
Yeah.
Oh, does it need to be right first? So desk sig element. Does this? Oh, there's the classes injector.
No, but so sig is specifically for signature.
Yeah, but
so
there's
it shouldn't be relevant.
Base class that adds self classes to other self classes.
It's going from a class variable to a instance. So
to an instance.
Is that desk classes injector? Is that only used? Where is that used?
Well, it's underscored.
Right, but we could subclass a class that uses it.
Oh. Desk sig element, desk signature, desk inline for signature fragments, desk name,
Desk inline sounds right.
Well, that's for signatures.
Oh. Oh, this is always really fun, isn't it?
I mean, I guess what I could do is override it like this.
I mean, yeah, if you run that, let's see if that works.
Or, well,
the other thing it could be, which I hope it isn't, is if it's not being recognized by the HTML translator. But I thought if that is the case, then there should be a warning in the logs, or it should have failed, and it didn't. So I don't think it is that.
well, I mean, before I added class as a keyword argument, or classes as a keyword argument.
Yeah.
Honestly, this looks more like internal API than doing classes as a keyword argument. So what I might want to do here is just take classes, just not take anything. Well, that's used. And if I mean, if this gets moved into Sphinx, it'll probably need some restructuring and take args and quargs. But in here, it should be perfect like this. I guess the Sphinx pull request will need to make this public or something like that. And there we go. It looks a bit more angry than before, but it's fine.
Yeah, I suppose we could pick a slightly different class for the colours, but string is generic.
Well, I guess I could also look at pigments and its like string classes. There's a little doc strings SD. No change in color, at least.
It's italicized.
Yeah.
Oh, italic. There it is.
Double quoted string here doc. Other is green. SX. Come on. Ooh.
That's
Well, I
nice.
suppose it is an other string.
Where was it? No change here. Okay, that looks nice. Anything else we could use? Is there a single symbol? No. None of that would be semantically correct. What does the documentation say about string other? Token type for any other strings. For example, something I don't understand in Ruby.
String card.
Was somebody trying to say something, or was that just background?
No.
Sorry, it was background noise from my...
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, I don't think there's a better category, so other is correct, and it has the correct color in our theme, so let's go with that.
The only one I can think of is symbol, but that doesn't really fit, so yeah, other is probably best.
Symbol.
Yeah, I had the same intuition, but no. It's like a variable.
No, that's something completely different, I think. So let's see how it all looks. Yellow and green. Perfect.
Sure. Yeah.
Perfect.
Resolve.
Okay, so I guess all that's left here is to push it.
Do you want to add us as co-authors in case anybody comes looking for someone to blame?
Oh yes, I should definitely add Adam as a co-author.
Yeah.
It's also immediately out of date, even though I merged main
Sure.
in an hour ago. Well, 2 hours maybe. So, Blaze, you are co-author here already, Adam, if you decide to merge it, then add yourself as well.
Fair enough. The most amusing one is always when sort of a PR gets resurrected, and then you have to work out if you use authored by or co-authored by in the Git trailers, and what's the right format that is both, again, semantically correct and recognised by GitHub. I tend to do both.
So the good thing about already having authors here is you need to have the template there. So yeah, the ruff is not happy with this. So I try to format this, and what? Oh, this line was too long. Okay.
I think we configured ruff to be fairly strict on PEP 8, so it does require 80 columns, 79 columns, something like that.
That's fine. I guess I should wrap this as well, right?
So I imagine it's probably ruff is somewhat interesting formatter because there are some things it doesn't consider as characters in a way. So comments past the line length it allows, and it seems to allow doc strings like that. So
it's not allowed.
I've sort of just accepted it.
If I do this to conform to PEP 8, it'll just change it right back. But
yeah, it's an odd one. I'm not going to claim I understand it. But we tried our best.
Well, I mean, they say the auto formatters prevent the bickering about formatting code. My preferred solution to that is to not bicker about it.
There was several years worth of requests to adopt auto formatters in Sphinx, and I think there was more discussion about using an auto formatter or not than I have ever had arguments about formatting.
So Ruff is not happy about.
Oh, this is
block.
Yeah,
Class,
this is
about the class
check.
name. I mean, what can I do about the class name if the convention for class names for nodes is this?
Specifically for that, I would just use an ignore comment, because there was a little bit of debate when we set up Ruff if we should enable that specific linter, the PEP 8 naming n, because it's quite. There are things that you sort of there are classes that you are just callables that we name lowercase, but it wants to name uppercase, etc., etc. So.
Okay, so I'll change it to uppercase, but what do I do about this other one? Import block is unsorted or unformatted. How do I format it?
Do you have Ruff installed?
Yes. I ran Ruff format.
If you do Ruff check doc tools, and then if you do -- select I, and then -- fix.
Select what?
I. Just yeah, and then -- fix. You can just do -- fix, but I don't personally run that because it can fix more than you are aware of, so I only ever have it automatically fix import.
Oh, I'm fine with it doing whatever it needs because I just did a git commit.
But yeah, if you run --fix without the select, it will fix everything it can.
So format is just about white space, and --fix will reorder imports.
Yes. So
in the correct order.
I think there's a check. There's a check which is if you have a dictionary literal, you should use dictionary literal syntax instead of dict brackets like a equals 1. And it will fix that and convert it into dictionary literal syntax for you if you use --fix. Obviously, if you have it enabled, etc., etc.
So, now, as a contributor to doc tools extensions, this is yeah, this is not really actionable to me. Let's see if that still works.
I believe if you use pre-commit locally, it makes all of the changes for you. I do not use pre-commit though, and so I'm not sure what the workflow for people who do use pre-commit is. It might be slightly nicer, but yes, I think the experience here isn't fantastic.
Yeah, so about pre-commit, I'm not sure about the software it installs. Like,
oh, you can list. You can. Good point. You can list it. You can restrict what it installs.
Yeah, I mean, I can list it and update it manually and vet the software that it installs, but it's like not in the general set of software I trust.
Fair enough.
And whatever the docs put it in the venv, that's pushing it already, to be honest. Yeah, I think I checked it at one point and decided that I do trust these people. But, I mean, considering that
we're fairly minimal.
The way to remove the cache is just to install everything again. So there's a bunch of different maintainers who, could have a bad day.
If you, so the make clean command removes everything. If you just want to rebuild Sphinx without reinstalling or remaking the venv, if you do -E, so I think it's make
Sphinx options.
SPHINXOPTS equals SPHINXOPTS equals capital E or --fresh-env. It will not use the cached environment, and it will remake everything for you. Obviously, the other option is to delete the stuff on disk.
Yeah, that's what I did before, like delete build, which is probably the easiest option of them all. Yeah, I just asked you because you were here, so I wanted to know what the proper way to do this is.
The link is there, but whenever I run it, I just run Python -m sphinx-build -e. I always forget what the correct syntax to pass Sphinx options to the make command is. and I think it's SPHINXOPTS equals, and then whatever options you want.
Yeah, but this is useful. This looks like the proper way to do it. And this is the structure caching all cross-references. So this will parse all the source files again, right?
Yeah, it actually caches more than just cross-references, it caches everything. And the idea being that you can do build HTML, build PDF, build MAN, build EPUB, and all the different source formats don't need to reread the same documents.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously when you're developing an extension, it is a little bit annoying.
Yeah. I know. Okay, now it just needs to run doc tests, which I never say never, but I don't think we broke those. So hopefully this will be okay. So thanks a lot for your help, Adam.
Today was an epic session.
Oh yeah, I learned a lot.
Yeah, it's the middle of the day in the UK, so I probably am not able to come on a weekly basis, but hopefully it was useful as at the very least a one-off.
Well, if you ever want to come again, you'll always be welcome.
I'll see what I can do.
But if not, we can just use pull requests and Discord.
Exactly. Yep. Have a wonderful day.
You too.
Cheers, Adam.
Cheerio. Bye.
And we're just out of time. So let's call it a day.
Yeah, sounds good to me. I'll put the notes in the discussion thing.
Thank you very much for keeping them.
Yeah, my pleasure.
And see you next week.
Yeah, cheers.